profit equals revenue minus cost. Because that equation is the DNA of every business, nearly every strategy problem eventually comes down to a single number, the price. That number often determines whether a client survives or goes under. When top-tier firms tackle pricing, they don't rely on gut feeling or guess what sounds reasonable. They break the problem apart into a mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive structure. This isometric blueprint shows the 3 core pillars of that structure. You can think of any pricing strategy as a room. You have the floor, the ceiling, and the window. The floor is your cost-based metric, specifically the variable cost per unit. This is the absolute minimum threshold. If you price below this line, the business model breaks with every sale you make. The ceiling is your value-based metric. This represents the absolute maximum a customer is willing to pay, based on the utility of your product compared to their next best alternative. Finally, you look out the window to find your competitive benchmark. This tells you exactly where your rivals are positioned in the external market right now. But the math alone won't give you the answer. You have to look at the objective function, a strategy designed to maximize profit margins, and a strategy designed to grab market share will produce completely opposite right answers from the exact same data. Let's test this framework on a novel product with 0 direct competitors. Imagine a client invents a light bulb that burns for 500 years. The challenge here is that the product is so durable, selling one today effectively destroys the need for that customer to ever buy another one. This slider bar illustrates the 2 extremes you have to navigate. On the left, you could simply calculate the cost of production and add a standard margin. On the right, you can calculate the lifetime value you provide to the consumer. To calculate that value-based price, you figure out the total amount a consumer would spend replacing regular bulbs over their lifetime. You set your price just below that total to give them a financial incentive to switch. For novel inventions, the value-based ceiling dictates the price. The cost of production serves only as a survival floor. Now consider the exact opposite scenario, an established product in a crowded space. A builder in Kolkata wants to price apartments in a new residential complex on the outskirts of the city, but these specific buildings sit right next to a new metro station. Think back to our 3 pillars. In a crowded market with a clear differentiator, which metric serves as your baseline and which acts as your adjustment layer? This bar chart shows the baseline. In an established market, you start with the competitive benchmark, analyzing exactly what nearby builders are charging for similar square footage. Next, you apply your value-based premium. Proximity to the metro provides a concrete time-saving value for commuters. That utility justifies an adjustment layer, pushing the price 10 to 15% higher than the baseline average. Finally, you run a cost-based sanity check. If the builder requires a 10% profit margin over their construction costs, you verify that your new premium price safely clears that threshold. In crowded markets, you anchor to the competition, and you add or subtract based on your specific value drivers. But what if the goal is market capture? When Reliance Jio launched in India's telecom market in 2016, they deliberately priced their services below the cost floor. Pricing below variable cost is an irrational move on paper. It becomes a rational strategy only if the client possesses balance sheet endurance, the sheer financial capital to absorb massive losses and outlast rivals in a multi-year price war. Disruptive pricing is a high-stakes game of chicken. Your recommendation is only as good as the client's financial ability to survive the competitive response it provokes. Keep in mind, these pillars are a vocabulary, not a rigid checklist. You apply them in the order the facts demand. This grid maps out the 3 primary scenarios. For innovations, you lead with value. For crowded markets, you lead with competitive benchmarks. And for disruption, you lean entirely on your cost floor and balance sheet endurance. When you walk into your case interview, follow the golden rule. State the objective function out loud and sketch your MECE tree before you attempt to calculate a single number. Master the order of operations and you demonstrate the exact mindset firms look for, the ability to move fluidly between high-level strategy and ground-level arithmetic.